Welcome to the Empowered Team Podcast. I'm your host, Kari Schneider, and today we've got a great topic for you. You know, this podcast is all about self-mastery. This podcast is so that you can optimize your performance in life and have the outcomes in the life you really want, whether it's in business leadership or whether it's with your family, living in the world. All right, let's go. If we look at self-mastery, first of all, today I'm going to give you the thing that is going to help you in any reactive situation. Before you do anything, you're going to ask yourself this. That's what's going to happen today. I'm going to teach you what you're going to ask yourself before you do anything. Because why? You've probably been in a situation where you've reacted and you've not liked the outcome. Ever done that? You've reacted. You're like, wish I didn't do that. So outcomes you regret don't come from bad intentions. They come from not pausing. And I'm going to teach you today how to ask the question for pause so that you can get the outcomes you really, really want. Why? Because this is the practice of self-mastery. It is an inner game, it is an interactive game, and it is an action game and an inaction game. So let's look at this today so that before you do anything, ask yourself this. The problem is not that you don't know what to do. The problem is that you take an action before you pause. And so we're going to use the key questions. There's going to be 3 key questions to ask when you pause to get your brain online, to get your brain back online instead of going with an old automation, something you've done over and over for years, or instead of reacting from fear or urgency and really triggering the oldest part of your brain. No, we're going to pause and we're going to activate the best part of our brains to get the results that we really want. That's what we're up to today. Let's do it. Before anything, ask yourself this. Here we go. Self-mastery begins before action. This is the inner game. And this particular topic today is going to be one of 3 episodes in a series called The Power of Questions. And this is in our inner game of self-mastery. And I'm doing this because the quality of your decisions is based on how we can think. If you can't think and you can't manage your own brain, it's going to come down to managing your own brain. If you can't manage your own brain, you're not going to come up with the actions that you want. And ultimately, your outcomes are going to be regrettable at worst, or mediocre, or just repeated from what you've always done, and you're simply not going to get into your best. So we're going to have to manage this big, beautiful beast called our brain in order to get the best out of us. That is our inner game. Let's go. Self-mastery begins here before we take any real outer action. So let's do this. First of all, our inner game, when we're looking at this, we're talking about our thoughts, we're talking about our emotions, we're talking about our impulses, our urges. And when we do our interactive game, we're talking about how all of that interacts with other humans in your leadership, in how we relate in our relationships, in how we create situations that involve other humans. And then our action game is how do we execute? How do we take action or inaction and put those things that we've created in our brain out into the world? That's our action game. Before we go into any sort of action, our brain is being guided by questions. So if you need to pause to get your best part of your brain back online, you better be pausing with some decent questions. And I'm going to give you 3 questions today that are going to become so automatic, so easy, that it'll be one of the easiest things you do to up your output and up your game. So this is the questions for pause. What does pause really mean? What I want you to do with a pause is not just, avoid, procrastinate. I don't want any of that. Pause is not weakness. Pause is not even delay. What we're doing with a pause is an intentional interruption. We're doing an intentional interruption in order to create our best. That is really managing our own brain. We're being the boss of our own brain. So our pause is a necessary step. All you have to remember is pause. Because when you pause, you're going to slow things down enough to be able to bring these 3 questions online so that your next actions become very, very intentional. Because if we keep reacting, we keep doing autopilot, we keep doing what we've regurgitated for so many years, we're probably not going to get to the place where we want to go. And that's a place that might be a goal. It might be what we envision our future selves to be. It might be a financial goal in the business, whatever it is. We're not going to get there unless we can recreate what our actions are and rewire our brain, really rewire our brain to get the results that we want. So it's intentional interruption. Intentional interruption. Where we lose this pause most often is when we are challenged in some way or another. And this is often in a world that we have right now. It's often in consumption. So food, social media, television. It's often in our decision making. We're reacting to something and deciding in a way that we always have instead of in a way that we might want to. It's in spending, so money, our financial areas where we just do it this way. We want something, we want to feel a certain way, and so we're buying this thing, or we're not saving in a certain way. So there's all kinds of ways where we lose the pause. If we have pressure on us, someone's putting some pressure on the outside, or we feel urgency on the inside, and then we've got this pressure feeling, and then we lose the pause. And as soon as we lose the pause, we're taking the best part of our brain offline. We're literally removing our highest intelligence from the game. And I want your inner game to be playing at a top level. That's what we're doing. We're optimizing your inner game. So where our pause is lost in those areas that I mentioned, that's where you want to be most aware to pause, to bring this pause in. And this is what we're going to do today. We're going to know how to pause exactly, no matter what the situation, food, conflict, something going wrong, decisions, habits. The pause is going to follow this same sequence. And the sequence is a beautiful sequence. All it is we're interrupting the urgency. We're going to interrupt this feeling of time pressure. That's urgency. We're going to interrupt that. And then we're going to name the impulse, because we have an impulse in that moment. The impulse in that moment is coming from our past. So when we interrupt the urgency and then we name, what am I really feeling the urge to do right now? Then that gives us a moment to go, well, what do I actually want for my future self? What do I actually want? Because what I actually want for my future self is probably very different than what I'm about to do right now that's very reactive, that's very fast, that's not thought out, and definitely not intentional. So what we want to get in that pause is reclaim the things that we really want for our future self. Interrupt the urgency, name the impulse, and remind yourself what you really want for your future. So let's go. This is question number 1. Question number 1 revolves around what's the real problem here? And what it asks is, what do I need right now? When you're asking what you need, when you're asking what you need right now, it's forcing a pause, because I bet you whatever you're reacting with is not really what you need right in the moment. I'm going to give you an example of this. When people go to eat, are you really hungry? So when you ask yourself, what do I need right now? It might be water, not food. Or maybe the question about what you need right now is a question of, am I even hungry? Am I hungry? Yes or no? Am I hungry? But it comes back to, what do I need right now? What it does is it slows the moment down. We're working with time instead of fighting time. Slow the moment down. Wait 1 second. What do I need right now? And it separates the need, what you actually need in the moment, from the habit of what you might have always done. well, it's noon and I'm going to eat because it's noon. It's just what I do. But you might not even be hungry. In fact, you might still be full because you ate this extra big breakfast for that meeting. It was a breakfast meeting and it was different than you normally eat. And it happened at 10 a.m. and it bled into your lunch and now you're just going to eat because it's noon. Now, imagine that situation. But when you pause and say, what do I need? And maybe that question in context of hunger is, am I even hungry? It's a very different question, and it slows down the automation so that you can stop the automation, because that's what's happening. Your brain is an automation machine. Your brain is trying to repeat things so that they are put into memory, which then becomes your subconscious, and it just runs on autopilot. So you don't have to think about it, because thinking about something is energy draining. And all we're going to do is we're going to automate this pause and these 3 questions so that they are going to help you become automatically intentional. So you take the energy out of like, oh, I've got to think and I got to decide. No, you just got to pause. And what comes with that pause is, what do I need? So easy. So easy. So that is number 1, separating your need from your habit. And it comes with that question, what do I need? It brings awareness to what's actually required. And with food, it might sound like, do I need fuel or do I need comfort? With conflict, do I need to respond or do I need space first? With decision making, it might sound like, do I even need to decide this right now? Or am I just doing this to relieve the discomfort of the pressure that's on me right now? Because I'm susceptible to making a poor decision. So the reason that this really matters, and this is research fact, is when the urgency shows up, our brain goes into its amygdala. We go into our limbic system. This is our oldest, most primal brain. And when this happens, it's very impulsive, it's very emotional, it's very, very reactive. We don't want that. So under stress or urgency, the brain prioritizes with habit. The brain prioritizes with what's familiar. And it reduces access to our prefrontal cortex, which I call our badass super genius, and we can't access our most intelligent part of our brain. What the heck? So we really want to govern our reasoning. We really want to have the self-control. We really want to master this big, beautiful pile of guck called our brain and make sure that it's working for us. So reducing that reactivity is happening by introducing the pause. And introducing the pause, it re-engages the prefrontal cortex. It gives you a hot second to get the smarty pants back online. So the reason that works is it slows the moment down, it forces cognitive engagement, and it shifts the brain from reactive to reflective. So that's question number 1. What do I need right now? Question number 2 is going to be a really sweet sequence. What do I want right now? Understand what you want. One of the biggest problems with why we get into trouble with regretting our own actions is that we never acknowledged what we really wanted. We never acknowledged the impulse. We didn't acknowledge what we felt we deserved in the moment. We're basically ignoring this childish urge, this childish impulse that we might have, or maybe it's a valid thing that we really, really felt we deserved, but we're ignoring this impulse. And the more we ignore it, the more we stuff it, the more we don't acknowledge it, I promise you, it is just going to get bigger. It is just going to come back stronger. So when we ask ourselves, well, what do I really want right now? It allows us to acknowledge what our desires are, what our impulses are, what our urges are. It's a really important thing to do. It brings our emotional intelligence online. It separates our desire, our impulse, our urges from who we are. Oh, I have a desire. I have a desire to eat the entire bucket of ice cream. Okay. When I acknowledge that, instead of making it wrong, pushing it away, when I acknowledge that, I can pause and go, interesting. Look at that. Of course I'm desiring that. It tastes so damn good. Of course I'm desiring to get angry at the employee because that feels better than having to deal with this situation that they brought to me. Trust me, if you feel like you want to get angry, you feel that urge, I promise you that acknowledging it is going to help you more than stuffing it away and pretending it doesn't exist. I had a client a long time ago, and this client was so angry at what happened with an employee, and they felt so betrayed, except when I was coaching them, they like wanted to go right into the action, and I could tell they were still angry. Wanted so badly to take action and get some other people involved and make sure that they were told and changes were made, and they were even considering firing this person. And I simply, over 3 different coaching calls, said, nope, I'm not helping you with this action right now. You are to do one thing and one thing only, and that is pause. Because you are not going to make this decision from this space. But it was okay that they were angry. Anger was probably an appropriate response to that context. However, we weren't going to take action from it. And that's the most important part. So when you ask yourself, what do I want right now? I want to punch that person in the face. But if you stop stuffing that, it allows you to recognize, okay, well, that's the urge that I have, that's the impulse that I have, but I'm not going to do that. But when we don't pause enough to acknowledge what we really want in the moment, we're doing ourselves a disservice because that thing is still going to be there. So all we need to do is acknowledge it. That's all. That's all that's happening. Name that impulse without judgment. Name that impulse without making it into something that is real. It's actually just a feeling that you have in the moment. You don't have to act on it. I give you permission not to act on it. It's not who you are. And it reduces, by acknowledging this and naming and saying the thing, it really reduces the unconscious reaction. You ever do something like, where'd that come from? Holy cow. I just yelled at my kid. Where did that come from? I never want to be someone who's yelling at my kid. What the heck? And so you don't want to have those unconscious reactions that simply came from not acknowledging what was going on for you. What do I want right now? I want to yell at my kid. I want to tell them how wrong they are for doing what they did. You know, those things aren't really helpful, and they're probably not who you are, and they're probably not who you want to be in your future. So some of the examples, you might want relief. You might want to avoid something. You might want to eat a whole bunch. You might want to yell at somebody. You might want to feel comforted with social media, television, food, with someone telling you you're right, with AI telling you you're right. You might want a lot of things. It doesn't mean you're going to act on it. So that's why question 2, when you pause, is so important to have that emotional outlet and acknowledgement. It reduces the power of the unnamed emotion. Let that sink in. Let the power dissipate of the emotional urge that you might be feeling overcome by. Let it dissipate. Don't let it run your behavior. Whatever is named, it loses intensity. It's like, oh, I see that. Without making it wrong, just acknowledging it. Okay, I get it. I get it. This makes sense. This makes complete sense. When we label, I want comfort, I want relief, I want to yell at them, it reduces that emotional reactivity, but more importantly, the process of that, it lowers the emotional center activation that's going on in your primal brain. It increases self-regulation. It increases your ability to make the connection between the emotion that you feel, and I know I'm pointing in my brain, you might feel the emotion in your body, but it's stemming from a certain part of your brain, And you're making that connection between what you actually want, who you really are, and what that's doing to you. It's hijacking you. So it's a reflective thing. The moment you name that impulse, it stops owning you. When you can't and you're just running on a reaction, it's owning you hard. And you don't want to be owned by some reaction. So what you want right now, naming that really, really matters. And maybe what you want right now isn't so negative. Maybe what you want right now is really big and you haven't acknowledged it before and it's really positive and it's really awesome. That's a thing too that we might be stuffing, and that it keeps coming out in ways, but we're not acknowledging it. It doesn't mean it's going to go away if we acknowledge what we want. It's going to mean that our attention, our brain can make a decision because now we're more aware of it. So we're putting it in a position to decide on. That's what we're doing by saying, what do I want? I'm acknowledging it and then deciding on it because I can see it, not because it's hiding in the wings. It normalizes your desires instead of suppressing them. It turns unconscious impulse into conscious information, and it breaks the illusion that urges must be acted on. That's a lie that your brain is going to tell you very quickly before you can decide. We don't want that. We do not want that. So question number 3, this is what brings us to question number 3, and it's setup. The setup is question number 1, and the setup is question number 2 for this third question. This is really, really important. Question number 3 asks you, how will I feel if I do that? And more specifically, how will my future self feel if I decide to do that thing that I want to do? And if I'm ignoring what I really need in the moment? That's the question. That's the crux that's finally in that pause, and this can happen in less than a minute. You can get these 3 questions done in less than 30 seconds. So all I'm asking you for really is a 30-second pause. Those 3 questions. What do I need? What do I want right now? And how will that have me feel? How will my future self feel about that if I do that? It really asks, am I going to be proud of that? Is that aligned with who I really am? Is that what I'm up to in the world? Is that what I really want? That's what it asks. And it shifts the focus from short-term relief, that now urge, to your long-term alignment, to your future self, to who you really are. That's what it shifts to. It reconnects you with your purpose, reconnects you with consequences, and reconnects you to your identity that you might really want to align with. That's what it does. And it's so powerful, but it's really powerful after the first 2. The first 2 set the platform, they set the stage. They're like the prerequisites of saying, hey, I'm not really going to know how I'm going to feel unless I've looked at what do I need and what do I want? And then how will that make me feel? How will my future self feel? Because right now, it's going to make me feel great to have a party in my mouth if I eat the whole tub of ice cream. However, my future self, how's that going to make me feel in an hour? In 3 hours? How am I going to feel about myself? How am I going to actually physically feel? You can ask those questions. But we need those first 2 to take our brain out of a reactive state in order to be able to get to that third question. If we go right to the third question, oftentimes we've missed what our real impulses are. And if we don't acknowledge them, they're probably going to pop up later in some form or another. Oh, I didn't have that ice cream now, but I really want it later. That's how it usually shows up. How will my body, how will my energy feel later? That can be in the context of food. In the context of communication, will I be proud of how I handled this? That's really the question of how will this make me feel later? In the context of habits, does this move me closer to who I want to be, or does it move me further away? So these questions can be put into any sort of context that you want, anything that really matters to you. If it's in food, it's something like, am I hungry? What do I feel like? What do I want to eat? If I ate that, how will I feel now and how will I feel later? Is this what my future self wants? Those would be those same questions, those same 3 questions in the context of food. If it's in the context of something reactive with another person, it might be, what do I need right now? I might really need to express my opinion. I might really need to feel safe expressing my opinion. What do I want right now? I want to be heard. I want to yell at this person. Well, how will that make me feel right now? In the moment, it might feel really good, but my future self might not be so proud of handling it that way. Look how fast you can go through something like that. Pause. 3 questions. Want, need, feel. Feel now, feel future. Want, need, feel. Feel now, feel future. Literally how fast you can reset your brain and get control over this beast of a brain that can run you off the rails from what you really, really want in the world. And what I want for you is that self-mastery. You, the highest level of you, are the boss of your brain. Your brain doesn't need to run the show because you're the boss. You can tell it what to do. And the 3 questions of pause are one of the most powerful ways to get the best parts of your brain back online and working for you instead of against you. And that's my wish for you. That's why I want you to use these questions for pause so that you can really have the outcomes that you want in your life. All right. That's my invitation for you. Let's do this. Dive right in. Pause is power. Questions create choice for your life. And choice creates that self-mastery. That's what we're going for. This is the inner game. This is your brain game. Self-mastery doesn't start with action. It starts with just this little pause. So I invite you, ask these questions for pause. If these are going to be powerful for you, I'll bet they'll be powerful for someone that you care about. Send it out to them so that they can optimize their inner game, their self-mastery to keep going for what they want in life. You've got this. Have a wonderful day and a great rest of your week.